You think broke people are bad with money. Watch this. A guy spends $24 he doesn't have. His card goes through anyway. The bank covers it, then charges him $34 for the favor. So he just borrowed $24 at an interest rate of 17,000%. And the bank calls that a service. That fee has a name nobody puts on the sign: the poverty premium. It is the simple, brutal fact that in America, being broke is not just hard, it is expensive. On purpose. Here's what most people get wrong. They think staying broke is a willpower problem. Too many lattes, not enough discipline. By the end of this, you'll see the 5 ways the system quietly charges you extra for having no money, and the one study, run on sugarcane farmers, that proves the willpower story is a lie. I've read the court filings and the Federal Reserve data, so you don't have to. The number at the end is the one that got me. So let's follow the money through one ordinary month. Picture a guy. We'll call him Marcus. Marcus isn't real. But every dollar that happens to him is. It is the first of the month, and Marcus has a job. He works full-time. Therefore, you'd think the bank wants him. It doesn't. His checking account charges $15 a month, unless he keeps $1,500 sitting in it at all times. Marcus does not have $1,500 spare dollars. That's the whole reason he's here. So he pays the $15. He is now paying $180 a year for the privilege of having somewhere to put his paycheck. And this is the new normal, not some payday loan back alley. In 2025, Wells Fargo tripled the balance you need to dodge that fee, from $500 to $1,500. Chase pushed its fee to $15 too. The message is clean. If you already have money, banking is free. If you don't, it costs. But here's where the trap snaps shut. Marcus's balance dips. A debit charge clears that he can't quite cover. The bank pays it, then takes that $34 overdraft fee. One small swipe. And he is not alone. In 2024, Americans paid roughly $12 billion in overdraft and related fees. Therefore, you'd assume it's spread thin across everybody. It is not. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau found that 79% of those fees come from just 9% of accounts. The same broke people, over and over. Their average balance is under $350. They are not overdrafting because they're careless. They are overdrafting because there's nothing there. So Marcus does the rational thing. He gives up on the bank. He's now one of the roughly 5.5 million American households the FDIC calls unbanked. And the number one reason people give for leaving? They can't meet the minimum balance. Read that twice. He left the bank because he was too broke for the bank. But money still has to move. Rent is due. So now Marcus walks his paycheck into a check cashing store, and they take a slice just to hand him his own wages. 2-3% a check. Cash a $1,000 check every 2 weeks at 3%, and that's around $780 a year. Gone. For the crime of not having an account he couldn't afford to keep. Here is the part that should make you sit up. The Brookings Institution ran the math on a full-time worker stuck doing this his whole career. The lifetime cost of cashing checks instead of banking them? As much as $40,000. $40,000. That is a down payment on a house, paid in tiny slices, to a storefront for nothing. Now the car breaks. It always breaks. And Marcus does not have the cash because the Federal Reserve says 37% of American adults could not cover a sudden $400 expense without scrambling. So he borrows. But broke Marcus can't borrow cheap. The cheap money is for people who don't need it. He hits a payday lender. $15 for every 100 he borrows, due in 2 weeks. Sounds small. Spelled out as a yearly rate, it's nearly 400%. Your credit card would have to faint to reach that. And the trap is the rollover. Watch this number. Marcus borrows $300. He can't repay in 2 weeks, so he rolls it. And again. 4 months later, he's paid $360 in fees, and he still owes the original $300. He paid more than double. Almost all of it fees. He's not unusual. The Pew Charitable Trusts found the average payday borrower pays $520 in fees to repeatedly borrow $375. They stay in debt about 5 months of the year. The loan is not designed to be repaid. It's designed to be renewed. And every door Marcus walks toward costs more once he's inside. He wants a phone. The carrier wants a deposit because his credit's thin. He wants the lights on. The utility wants a deposit. He needs a couch. and the rent-to-own store smiles and says no credit needed, then charges him roughly twice the sticker price by the end, sometimes triple. A sofa set that runs $1,000 at a normal store can cost him over $3,500 by the time the contract's done. Even his car insurance is higher, for the exact same driving record, because insurers price on your credit score and your zip code. A clean record driver with poor credit can pay over $1,300 more a year. In majority black neighborhoods, Consumer Reports found that penalty climbing past $3,000. And when Marcus finances the car, the gap gets obscene. A buyer with great credit lands a loan around 4.5% right now. A deep subprime buyer like Marcus, around 16%. Same car, same lot, thousands more over the life of the loan. Therefore, he's more likely to fall behind, and he knows it, because subprime car loan defaults just hit an all-time high in early 2026, while wealthy borrowers cruise along almost perfectly current. Same economy, two completely different countries. And the score itself is the master trap, the one that feeds all the others. One low number lifts his car rate, his card rate, his deposit, his insurance, all at once, all at the worst possible time. On a mortgage, a 620 credit score against a 760 costs about $60,000 in extra interest over the life of the loan. The house doesn't get more expensive, being Marcus does. And it isn't only dollars, it's time. No car means a commute that can run twice as long on a bus that arrives when it feels like it. Every benefit Marcus might qualify for comes buried in hours of forms, lines, and refiling. There's so much friction that the government itself estimates around $140 billion in benefits go unclaimed every year, partly because people simply cannot afford the time to claim them. The premium isn't only charged in money, it's charged in the hours you never get back. You need money to avoid paying money every single time. So by now you're probably thinking what everyone thinks. Okay, but Marcus keeps making bad calls. Roll the loan, skip the deposit, buy the couch. Bad decisions, right? Here is where you're wrong, and here's the study. In 2013, researchers published a paper in the journal Science. They tested sugarcane farmers in India, the same farmers, twice. Once before harvest, when they were broke and waiting on the crop, once after harvest, when they'd been paid. Same people, same brains. And before the money came in, when the worry was loudest, their cognitive performance dropped by the equivalent of 13 IQ points. 13. That's the hit you take from missing a full night of sleep. Sit with that. Poverty didn't find dumb people. Poverty made smart people score lower because the constant math of being broke, which bill, which day, which one bounces, eats the mental bandwidth you'd use to plan your way out. The economists who ran it called it a bandwidth tax. It is not a character flaw. It is a brain running too many panic tabs at once. And the bandwidth tax shows up in the smallest things. The big value pack of anything, the rice, the soap, the paper towels, is cheaper per unit. But you can only buy the big pack if you have the cash today. So Marcus buys the tiny, overpriced size, again and again, because that's all that fits in this week's pocket. Researchers found that if low-income families could buy in bulk like everyone else, they'd shave around 5% off their grocery bills. That's not money they're bad with. That's money they simply cannot reach. Which brings us to the oldest, cleanest way anyone ever explained this. It comes from a novelist, Terry Pratchett, in 1993. He called it the boots theory. A rich man, he wrote, buys one $50 pair of boots that lasts 10 years. A poor man can only ever afford the $10 boots that fall apart every season. So over those same 10 years, the poor man spends $100 on boots and still has wet feet. He paid double for worse boots because he could never afford the cheaper ones. That sentence is the whole video, because this is the cruelest layer, and it's the one nobody shows Marcus. While he's paying the broke tax every month, the people who own things are getting an escalator. The median American homeowner is worth about $396,000. The median renter? $10,400. That is not a gap. That is a different planet. And the door's closing. The typical first-time home buyer is now 38 years old. In 1992, they were 28. Owning, the one escalator that builds wealth while you sleep, now starts a decade late, if it starts at all. And for a lucky few, the escalator is simply handed down. The richest tenth of families collect more than half of every dollar passed between generations. The bottom half, 8%. So one kid steps onto the escalator at 25 with a down payment waiting for him. Marcus is still looking for the stairs. So, no, Marcus is not bad with money. Marcus is being charged a fee on every transaction for the offense of being poor, and he pays it in cash, in time, and in 13 IQ points he didn't know were being skimmed. And before you tell yourself this is at least getting better, it is not. In 2024, regulators wrote a rule to cap that $34 overdraft fee at $5. It would have saved Americans around $5 billion a year. In May 2025, Congress repealed it. The fee went right back up. That same year, the banks raised their minimum balances. They watched the pressure come off, and they pressed down harder. Here's my honest read, and it's the reason this channel exists. The poverty premium is not a glitch. It's a business model. The most reliable customer in finance is someone who can't afford to leave. So, real question, drop it in the comments. What's the dumbest fee you've ever been charged just for being low on cash? I read them. And if any of this made you look at your bank a little differently, subscribe. The next way people quietly lose their money lands in your feed before it lands in your life. Send this one to the friend who thinks broke people are just bad with money. They need to see the part about the boots. See you next time.